Hey, thank you for watching another episode of the Mike and the Bodybuilding Show. How's it going, Mike?
It's going good, dude. Episode 16.
16.
In the house.
In
the house.
Josh Barnett's Metroflex, just pounding out chest with my main man, Big Daddy.
That's right.
We're excited to bring an overall champ, a former Mr. Arizona. The guy's done countless shows, 20 shows. Brian Vanderpool. Awesome bodybuilder and a good friend. Brian, come on out, man.
Big Brian in the house, just coming off USA's LA show. What's up, big man?
So before we get started, I saw you like 2 weeks out.
Yeah.
Okay. And you're a heavyweight all the way. Then all of a sudden, I see your pictures of the USA's and you're a light heavyweight.
Yeah.
WTF? Why'd you do that?
Well, we figured I'd have a better shot of being a light heavy compared to a lot of really good quality guys who we knew were going to be in heavyweights, and I didn't feel I was at their level. So I was working with Dusty Hinshaw through this one, and him and I both put together a plan that maybe we should just drop down and have a better chance of placing better in the USA's as a light heavy compared to the heavies, but kind of backfired on us. I was a little flat, came in a little flat.
Yeah. I don't know, when you drop 15 pounds and 15 pounds in 24 hours.
Yeah, like 3 days we tried to pull it all in, and kind of needed an extra day to fill out, and it wasn't enough time.
Were you thirsty at weigh-ins?
Yeah, kind of.
I'm sorry.
Well, with that being said, Brian, if you went back,
Yeah.
what would you do it over again, or would you just roll through and wherever you landed, you landed? And...
Well, knowing the competition at that level, it's very hard. Heavyweights. Everyone's coming in 224, 225 and a quarter, right at the line. So if you know your competition's there and you feel you're not at that level, you have to make a call saying, I need to be at the top of the class. So the next class to be at the top would be the light heavies.
Sure.
So you just squeezed in there.
Yeah, and I'm a little tall for that class still. And
yeah.
So I needed the size, and we just, between the two of us, we thought it'd be a better idea to come in, at the top of that class instead of the bottom of the heavies.
So you would do it again? You would go back down to the light heavies if there was a replay?
At that choice, we had no choice.
Right.
We had to. But maybe, I would have tried to, not as bad.
2 weeks out, and maybe even made the top 10. I mean, I'm just saying.
And I struggle with that because, and the reason I ask it is because I've been in that same situation. Yeah. I took the advice, and it fucked up. I mean, the bottom line is I would have looked better as that, exactly. I dropped down to middleweights, and it was just, I was way out of my league. And like you, our metabolisms run high, we're lean a lot. There wasn't matter what amount of food that I intake in those last 2 days, I wasn't going to fill out, you know what I mean? And so I think for me personally, I ask people that because I think you end up looking your best wherever you fall, and not worrying about it regardless. Yeah. Maybe your placing would have remained the same, or maybe it would have been better. But I think for me personally, I would have challenged myself a little bit more to go up to the light heavies that year and look better.
Well, with Brian, when you're on, in case you guys don't know Brian Vanderpool, when this guy's on, great, impressive physique. Shredded, I mean, big arms, great muscle bellies, your glutes are insane. I remember when you won the overall here. You won 2 overalls in 2010. And
so hold on. So we're clear. There's a Mr. Arizona, and you're Mr. Arizona. Oh, and a Mr. Arizona.
Well, we're in good company here. Hey, nice to meet you. And talk about a humble guy. We're at Lifetime Fitness. He just wins the title. And we were getting hassled by the trainers. Remember that? Yeah. And the trainer was hassling you, and I'm like, hey, don't you know who that is? He's like, no. I'm like, that's Mr. Arizona. And you're like, stop embarrassing me. Everywhere we go, I would say that. You're like,
I had a shirt on that said, I trained with Max and by Kaspari.
Sure.
And the guy says, is your name Max? I'm like, no. Why? We can't have trainers here, And I said, why do you ask me if my name's Max? He's like, it says it on your shirt. It says Kaspari training, like not letting personal trainers train.
Right.
I'm like, no, I'm not.
Another tool from Lifetime Fitness. Great gym.
If VJ was there, luckily, he says, he's not Max. His name's not Max. It's Brian. He's not training.
He's like, well, I don't know who he is. I'm like, well, maybe you should.
Mr. Arizona.
Mr. Arizona.
Well, speaking of bodybuilding, Brian, we talked a little bit before we started, and you're not from here. You came to Arizona in right around 2009 from New York. And so tell us, of the people that don't know Brian, tell us a little bit about what got you into bodybuilding. how'd your journey get to Arizona?
Well, basically started out in New York, had a health club for about 6 years, bought that in 2003. We hosted our own shows, didn't know anything about bodybuilding. Started it out with powerlifting. Competed as a powerlifter, actually won New York team as a powerlifter.
Powerlifter.
And then, eventually started getting a more bodybuilding physique and being leaner than all the powerlifters, And decided to do the first show in 2004 that we hosted at my health club. And I was 173, very conditioned, but had no clue what I was doing. I didn't eat for like a day, 2 days I think, and thought that was the way to get lean. And you learn, that's not the key. Is you have to actually eat more, and just playing with how your body responds to carbs and proteins.
And that's why they call you the chemist. Back home, he's known as a chemist because he knows how to get lean. He knows how to dry out.
So there was a lot of shows.
See how humble he is? See how humble he is? He won't even acknowledge me.
Let the man finish.
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry. This is your show. It's all
a
about
lot of shows, and you learn from your mistakes and try to get better. There was nobody back home who could show me, because upstate New York, there's, kind of more white-tailed deer than there is people. So, you were on your own for a long part of it. Yeah.
So, then you sold your club. Yeah. Did you keep competing after that, or was that soon after you moved out here?
Sold my club, moved out here, and kind of got away from bodybuilding. And really, I'm getting older and got to put it beside me. And kind of started out as a joke because I really didn't know anybody here. And then there was a show in March of 2010. I was 1 month out from my birthday, and my buddies dared me just to do it. And so I decided, okay, this is the last drink, and I'm going to do this show in a month. And long and behold, I did pretty well in the show. And
see how he
won the show.
He won the overall.
So then we kind of met new friends. Actually met VJ at that one. Was that the one I met?
Yeah, I met you there, and then soon after, I think we discussed, who holds that next Arizona title. And then he comes back to, go ahead. You tell your story better than I can.
Then pretty much that's the story. Met VJ. We hit the gym a few times, and then started posing more and got ready for the Arizona Open, and did the Arizona Open, competed in that, placed well in there too, and then went to the USA again with VJ, and so just meeting new friends. Basically, that was the story behind it. Getting back in Arizona, and, it's amazing how many people I met in the first year I was here. Met
I can relate a lot with that, coming from another state and meeting VJ at a show. I knew 0 people. Like I was all hooded in the back, and and lo and behold, this was the first guy that I met at the show who thought I was a complete asshole because I didn't talk to him.
That was my name. He came in and took my name. But anyway.
I love it.
Anyways. But, and then when you went on to the USAs, and I don't know if I thanked you, because we kind of lost touch after that a little bit. We've been in touch, but not as in touch. But I wanted to thank you for, you had such a calming effect on this, my first national show. You've been there before.
That was the pill I gave you.
Huh?
That was the pill I gave you.
That was, didn't see it.
Give me a Xanax, I was like sleeping backstage. But that helped me a lot, I appreciate that. And, you told me, hey, you're going to need water, and, lay down, put your legs up. There's just a lot of things that I didn't know, and I just want to thank you for that. You really helped me with that show. I don't know what I would have done without you. And you weren't even my trainer. I was actually working with Scott Turner that show. Yeah.
Well, having both of you guys standing here and having success in the state, what would you tell like? Because this is what I struggle with right now is, the way the placings are now, how they're letting the first and the seconds allow them to shoot up to the national level. What would you tell someone that's coming up? That you would look at, I look at some of these guys, and it's no disrespect to anybody out there whatsoever, but I really believe that you got to win your local shows, or if you go to California, you got to win these regional shows, then step up, because wouldn't you guys both agree, once you step in that back room at that national level, it's like, holy Christ, what do they feed these people?
It's a completely different level. Competing locally, winning a local show, compared to, competing at a national level, are completely different worlds. National show, these guys are there, basically they're turning pro. They're IFBB pro, first place, gets their pro card. They can step on stage basically with any of these guys you see in the magazines. that's the difference. Totally different level. They've been in the game for much longer. They, you know, numerous shows, not their first novice show. You know,
Right.
that's why there's not a novice division in nationals, or even a masters division, unless you're talking masters only shows at national level. But it's very competitive. You know, the
What
only way
would
to
you recommend,
experience
Brian? Sorry to interrupt you. What would you recommend to somebody that's, you know, not quite there, but they're moving in that direction? You know, because I think all of us can attest that we've been in that position where you're doing that transition between a local level and a national level. I'm dealing with it right now, trying to move up to the heavyweights. You know? But what would you recommend, or what would your bit of advice to somebody that's, you know, in their early 20s and they're working their way through?
If they want to do it, you know, they got to train like they want to do it. They got to put 110% in. If they want to do a national level, you know, they have to train, you know, eat like they need to, not skipping and missing meals. They need to train like they need to, and definitely have their posing down. If they have all that, they need the three important things first, because we'll see a lot of mistakes too. People who don't know how to pose, and they're not showing off their good qualities. And that'll actually, at national level, everyone there has everything down, and you need to have that. Yes, that's exactly the word you need, is to be polished.
Look like a pro.
You have to train, eat, and, you know, do everything 110%. You can't half it.
So in the spirit of what you're saying, what emphasis do you put on, or what percentage do you put on training versus nutrition plan? I like to think it's 70-30. Everybody's across the board on it, 100 and 100. Where do you at? Where you at on that?
Training is huge. Well, let me rewind that. If you actually go back to your age, like if you're a 20-year-old kid,
Talked about this
you know,
earlier.
nutrition, you know, they eat garbage and they still look good. You know, it doesn't really matter what they eat. But when you start to get older, and 30s, even late 20s, food is everything. There's no secret to bodybuilding. It's how much food you eat. You hear that a million times. Like, I can't gain weight, and, you know,
I eat so much.
I eat so much, but I can't get rid of it. It's like, oh, what'd you have for breakfast? And they're like, oh, a bowl of cereal. You know, what about lunch?
Proteins you have.
Yeah, and they skip meals. They don't actually eat as much as they say they do. And so nutrition is 85%, I would say.
Nice. He's on my team, people.
It's way up. It's no secret. The food is what makes you grow, and the rest. Training, you know, the intensity makes you grow too, but you don't have to spend 3-4 hours in the gym. You know, you should be able to get it done in an hour and 15 minutes, hour and a half.
Totally agree.
If you train with a partner, of course, it stretches it out a little bit, but if you're on your own, for example, and not training with DJ, it'd be about an hour and 15 minutes.
Exactly.
But, you know, 2 people goes a little longer, you know, hour and a half. But make your workouts efficient, you know, train to failure. You don't need to do 1,000,000 sets, you know, on biceps, an hour on biceps. But, you know, you got to use your bigger parts first and then go to the smaller muscles, you know. But sleep is huge. If you're working out hard and eating great and you're only getting 2 hours of sleep, you know, that's going to kill you too. So you need your sleep, eating, and training. You know, everything needs to be tied in, I think.
Great answer.
And, you know, of course, if you want to pursue national level, you have no life, because your life revolves around food,
And
training,
you get there, you get to the
sleeping.
national stage, and these people are like Ryan, they own a gym, they're a personal trainer, they're living and breathing the fitness lifestyle, whereas someone like Mike and I, or you now, I mean, we have careers, and we're doing this as a hobby, so it's even harder for us. So I want to know, I always ask, who was that bodybuilder that you saw in a magazine as a kid? And you're like, I want to look like that. Was there somebody?
I was always a big fan of Cutler. I really didn't get involved in bodybuilding, actually competing, until I was about 24. So Jay Cutler was on the stage then and on the scene, and kind of followed him. And yeah, he was. So I started following him, being a fan of him, and you know, and said,
He's an East Coast guy too, isn't he?
Yeah, there.
Do you think he's going to have a shot against Kai and Phil Heath this year? Coming back?
It's going to be a running between Big Ramy,
Oh,
you know,
Big
Kai
Ramy's gonna
Green,
make a mark, huh?
Heath, and Cutler. It can
It's a
go
stacked
anyway. You know, it's going to depend on who looks the best that day. You know, it's you never know, because they could mess it up just like any of us. But you know,
Exactly.
Well, you know, you inspired me years back, and this is not a derogatory comment I made about me at all. I mean, it just came from a mutual friend of mine. And you had heard that I was looking to move into the heavyweight class. And you're like, he'll never move into the heavyweight class because he likes being shredded all the time. And he's not going to grow because he can't eat. And I heard that, and I was like, well, he's right. God damn it, he's right. And you know what? Things have changed. I listen to Mike now, and I'm eating, and you're in the back of my mind.
I don't recall saying
so.
No,
You didn't.
I didn't do this.
No, it was a good thing. I don't think that is a bad thing at all. And maybe it wasn't verbatim, but it was something that. And you didn't say anything, like I said, derogatory about me. You've always been a gentleman and in the sport about everybody. And but anyways, you are in the back of my mind. Mike's in my head. He knows.
But BJ does like to stay shredded year round.
You know, it's because I'm insecure. It's because I'm insecure, people.
At least he's honest. Brian, what, you know, being here in Arizona, and now you're engulfed into, you know, people know you know, and I want to try to get opinions from local bodybuilders that have been successful here, so we can continue to grow this thing, bring it more together, and make bodybuilding, you know, a bigger deal here. But if there's one thing that you could change, or a wand that you could, you know, you could wave, what would you like to see you change with Arizona bodybuilding?
Arizona bodybuilding, like I said, from where I lived, you know, a big show, they had 50 contestants.
Oh wow.
You know, so coming out
Brian
on
comes
this
here,
side,
he's like at the USA's in Arizona.
so, you know, it's completely different. You have 300 people on the show here, but, you know, a lot of it is, you know, bikini and men's physique, which is taken off. So bodybuilding has changed in that aspect. But for the bodybuilder, you know, I'd like to see them actually start giving out more credit at the national levels for like the second places, because they're giving out awards to basically every class except for bodybuilding. Like junior nationals, girls get their pro card, and
Top five,
yeah, top five is
right.
men's physique, but they still don't even award the male bodybuilding for that. And but that doesn't really apply to Arizona. But my experiences in Arizona is the shows are run miles. The only shows I've competed out here are miles, and I thought he ran them very efficient. Telling you what time you're going to be on stage, they give you like an estimate, you know, they had food in the back.
Yeah.
And I've been to shows where you have no clue what time you're going on. You have, you know, very unorganized, but I have to give them credit out here, it's very organized. But to changing things, you know, I don't know really what they could really change about it, except for, you know, getting more people interested in the sport, instead of saying, no, you look good. And they're like, oh, you know, but I can't, you know, I don't look that good, I can't do a show. And, you know, maybe talking more people into doing it and just doing it instead of them hemming and high.
Well, when Mike and we did the Arizona 2009, they gave out a best posing routine award, and they gave out most muscular award.
Yeah.
And I thought that was kind of cool. And, you know, I've done a couple Arizona shows here after, and they don't have that anymore. So if I was going to say, you know, if there was a suggestion box, I put that in the suggestion
I think
box.
as a bodybuilder, I think what I miss the most is seeing the guest posing. I think as a bodybuilder being backstage, whether I'm back there, you know, because I set up a lot of the shows and help Miles out, and you're right, he runs probably one of the most efficient shows, and I think that it goes very smoothly. And it's gone even better now that we've gone to a 2-day show. It's boom, boom, boom. But I'd like to see, Miles, I'd like to see the guest posers again, because it is all about muscle. You know, and because, I don't know, you guys, if you've been to shows before, in most of the shows, you're going to see a big freaky guest poser. I mean, and it's always cool to be back there pumping up next to, you know, Kai Green or Phil Heath or somebody in the back, you know. And so I think maybe bring back a little guest poser or something.
Yeah.
So what's next for you? Are you going to get back
well,
on stage?
for me, I took almost 3 years off from the Arizona Open until recently competing. And, you know, I was a little rusty, so kind of getting coached back into it. Like I said, I worked with Dusty this year, and he's kind of pushing me more, saying, you know, you're good enough to do these shows, do them. And, you know, so I hem and haw with him, saying, I don't think I'm good enough, you know. And so he's kind of pushing me to do more and higher level shows.
Yeah. That's
So
where you belong.
we're
You're definitely a national level guy.
we're talking maybe the spring of next year, or trying to hit juniors, maybe junior nationals, and then, you know, maybe another shot at USAs or even Masters, because I will be a Master next year for the old guys. So there's always Masters, Nationals, and things like that. So
well, getting to know you, you know, a few years ago, and like I said, he's a very humble guy, and we were talking about going into the 2010 USAs, and you just said, I want to go in there, I don't want to be a number, I want to place, you know, 14th or above. And, you know, I'm going to guess that that's changed now. I would think that you're looking maybe to get that pro card.
Yeah, it'd be nice to, you know, after all the years of doing it and have that card, and, you know, it's just, it either seems that way for some people either win it in their 2nd year, or people win it in their 9th year. That's just like the way it goes.
Right.
You know, you see people trying hard and always getting a 3rd or a 2nd and their whole career, then all of a sudden, 9 years later, they win.
You're paying your dues, man. 20 shows, 4 overall titles. That's more than some pros have. I mean, there's some pros out there that haven't done that many shows and don't have that many overall. So, you know, you got a lot of experience, and you know. So I know you had a training business before. I know that you know, you got your juice bar at LA Fitness. So if people want to get a hold of you when they come down to LA, what LA Fitness are you at?
Well, I like to leave some of my business on the side. You know, I don't really like to promote myself too much or anything like that. But
Humble.
We do own a juice bar in the LA Fitness. You guys can just wander around to each one until you find it. But as to training, I have trained in the past, mostly contest prep, just telling people how to get lean and, you know, not going the starvation route and 2 hours of cardio route. Whether do it with food, you know, and if you eat correctly and stay moderately lean all year long instead of trying to lose 50 pounds, you know, it's a lot easier transition into going into a show. So.
Right. So you're going to go into the show looking your best, whatever weight class you fall in, you're just going to do that, right?
Yeah, we'd like
to. Right? It's the Sullivan knot, right?
So we're going to try to be a heavyweight, going into the next show with a heavyweight.
You are. I mean, what are you weighing now? Like 240?
About 230 right now.
230. You look pretty lean. Look at, you know, known for your vascularity at 230.
No.
Jesus Christ.
Well, before we let you go, Brian, we also like to, you know, ask who helps you get to where you're at. I mean, obviously, we all know you have to have a support team in the sport, and if you don't have them, you're not going to go very far.
Yeah.
So, you know, real quick, who would you like to thank? And
Brian has a great family support system. Yeah. No. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, as anyone knows, dieting and competing, it basically takes over your life, especially if you want to go to the next level. You make a lot of sacrifices. Some people have girlfriends, some people are married, and you know, they want to choke you 99% of the time because you're like, I can't go out to dinner, you know, I have to eat this, you know, we can't go hiking, we can't go on a road trip because you're so focused on these shows that I recently got married. My wife supported me a lot. This was her first show. She's never even dated a bodybuilder, you know, let alone one who competes, you know, and at that level. So I think I drove her a little nuts. And, you know, she's very supportive.
You guys are still married?
Yes.
Oh, good.
No, just got married.
No, I know. He said he just went through the dieting season.
So I actually joked about it to her too. I said, you know, you've never been through a show with me. Sure, you want to get married? And she goes, yeah, you know, obviously not knowing what it involves. So she was very supportive. You know, bit her tongue on a lot of things when you get a little testy and, you know, you have to do this and, you know, you put everything else on hold. That's another big thing too. Bodybuilding, if you want to go into 100%, like I said, it's a huge sacrifice. It's not a sport for, you know, occasional lifters or, you know, unless you want to place, you know, in the occasional top 10, you know, or excuse me, above the occasional top 10. But anything in the top 5, you have to train hard, you have to eat, and you have to sleep, you know. And having people around you too that are supportive of it instead of negativity, you know, is huge too. And sometimes people, if you do well in something, there's always jealousy and people will you know, bad talk you, and but, yeah, well, you know, but it comes with the territory, you know. People, you know, yeah. So, you know, like I said, ignore that, ignore the negativity, and try to just keep flowing with a
Positive energy around.
Yeah,
for sure.
But you guys have both dealt with that, I'm sure, with
Well, yeah.
the negative and the positive.
The negative generally has a way to just weed itself away from us. And,
I kind of, you know, if they're talking about us, I mean, there's no such thing as bad publicity. So, you know, thanks for watching the show and bagging on us because you're talking about us.
We love you.
You know, we want to thank Peoria Ford, great sponsor of ours.
We also want to thank our brand new sponsor as of this afternoon, S&S Nutrition, who just picked up the Mike and V show as well. So Peoria Ford, S&S Nutrition, thank you very much. Look out for this Saturday. We have a huge announcement, some big guests coming on. So there's big things happening with the Mike and V Bodybuilding Show. Brian, we appreciate your time, bro. Thank you for coming out, man.
Great champ, Brian Vanderploeg. For Mike Best, Vincent VJ Hils, the V and Mike Bodybuilding Show. I'm sorry, the Mike and V Bodybuilding Show. A platform for all bodybuilders. Thanks for watching.
We're out, guys.